My next guest is coming off an amazing performance over Jessica Andrade, finishing her in the second round last weekend at UFC Vegas 69. It is Erin Blachfield back here on the program. Erin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, but not as good as you, though. Congratulations on such a big and monumental win in the division. We're a few days removed. You've been doing a lot of media. I'm sure there's a lot of demand for you right now. How has that been? Was this something you anticipated after getting that victory?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know with beating someone who's number 3 is going to come with a lot of media and a lot of hype. But I've been enjoying it all, definitely taking a little bit of break from training. So it's kind of just been filling in the gaps.
I want to go all the way back to when you found out that Santos was out of the fight. You and I did an interview back when you were fighting Santos. And so we hear, I think it was like a week before, Talia Santos can't take the fight. Her visa, I guess her corners could not get visas to compete. Take me through the process of you finding that out and then getting Andrade as the replacement.
Yeah, well, actually, like before I had the Andrade replacement, like maybe like 2-3 weeks before that, I knew that Talia was having a little hard time getting her coaches or like her husband's visas, but it wasn't like any concern necessarily. It was just like, oh, like they're having a little bit of problems, but it should be fine. But then 2-3 weeks after that, I got a call like a week before the fight that that she's not going to fight because they can't get visas. So she's pulling out and that Andrade is willing to take the fight. So there was no like lull or anything, which was actually really nice. It was just like, well, she's out, this other girl's in, like, do you want to take it? So I was super happy about that. I was happy that there was no lull and that I got an opponent right away.
Well, and a really like highly ranked opponent, someone who just came off a really big win herself over Lauren Murphy. So I'm sure that helped as well. Like, it's not like you had to fight, beneath you or anything in terms of the rankings, right?
Yeah, no, it was definitely nice that it was still someone of that caliber, like someone in the top 5. I mean, I love fighting and I still would have wanted to fight even if I had to fight someone below me. But I'm really happy that it worked out the way it did.
And was there much of an adjustment in camp going from Santos to Andrade? I mean, obviously you got the win, didn't matter, but now obviously you can sort of mention that, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we definitely like looked over her fights and made a little adjustments. We only had like a week or so, but honestly, it felt like enough time. I drilled pretty much every single day once I got the opponent change to make those adjustments. And I felt super prepared once I was in there. I was already in great shape from being in camp the whole time. So it was literally just making little like minor adjustments.
And I guess the last thing sort of going into the fight, initially you and Talia were supposed to just be in a 3-round fight, right? And then they elevated it to the main event. It was 5 rounds. I imagine you got compensated for that, or take me through that process of changing, the 3 rounds to 5 rounds, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you do definitely get compensated for fighting, for being the main event, having to fight more.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wanted the 5-round fight. Like I wanted, when I first got off for Talia, I wanted the 5 rounds and they weren't able to do it then, but then they asked a couple weeks later. And yeah, I was super pumped about it. I loved being the main event. I loved having that. Well, I didn't get to fight 5 rounds, but I loved having, kind of having that, I guess, pressure on me to like have to be ready for 5 rounds. Yeah, so that was great.
Let's talk about the performance. Unbelievable win, just in terms of what you were able to do against Jessica. We haven't really seen her, get beat like that, at least not recently. I know Valentina defeated her as well, but from the opening bell, you were absolutely on her. Was that how you expected the fight to play out, like getting the submission in the second round, or did you expect the fight to go a little bit differently?
I knew once I got the fight to the ground that I could submit her. It just depended on when I would get it there. I knew she was going to be ready for my takedowns. I knew that anybody in this division is probably going to want to stop my takedowns. So I knew she'd be ready for it. I know she's like super skilled in that sense. So I kind of had to just use my striking and find my openings. And I knew I was prepared to strike with her. We went over a couple strategies and I knew I was going to be longer. I knew I could use my fakes. And I felt comfortable there. I mean, she definitely hits hard and I wanted to kind of impose my game a little bit more, but I had to kind of like find my opening.
And was there anything about Jessica that surprised you looking back on the fight now?
Honestly, no. It's funny. I feel like most of the time there are things in fights that do surprise me, but she has a lot of fights and she definitely does have patterns and like things that she does pretty often in all her fights. So like I feel like after watching a bunch of her fights and fighting her, she did fight very similar to what I expected.
Have you seen some of the comments she's made after the fight? I mean, people are talking about the short notice, and then they're also talking about, I guess, her breast came out or something during the fight. What have you made of those comments since the fight?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, she didn't say anything during the fight and I didn't really notice anything. I mean, maybe something kind of like slipped. I don't really know. I mean, if she wanted to do something about it, she would have to like say something during the fight, you know?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of just happened, you know?
Is that disappointing though? Maybe not giving you enough praise, and instead it's sort of, I mean, if things happen in a fight, they happen in a fight. But I also feel like that saying that also kind of takes away from your, the success in the fight in defeating her.
Yeah, I mean, I know sometimes people like when they lose like that, they kind of try to find every little reason of maybe why.
Mm.
And I mean, like, okay, let's say even worst case scenario, like the takedown was from that, like her giving up her back completely and letting me choke her
Right.
without defending has nothing to do with what had happened maybe a minute
Yeah.
before. So I don't really think it takes away from me.
How did you celebrate after the win? Again, biggest win of your career, probably on cloud nine. What did you get up to?
I just went out to dinner. It was actually my cousin's birthday, and he
Oh,
was
cool.
able to fly out like last minute, and he came to the fight because most of my other like it only got changed to a main event like close to the fight, so most of my family and stuff still wasn't able to really make it. But it was his birthday, and he was like, "Oh, I'm coming out," so he flew out to Vegas. I mean, some of my friends, we just went out to dinner after.
You didn't go clubbing? Isn't that normally what you do after at least go like out for a little bit? I know you're tired though too, like big camp and
Yeah.
all that as well. It's probably tough to have the energy for that, right?
Yeah, I usually do, but I was feeling, I don't know, for some reason after that fight, I was feeling pretty tired. Jessica hits pretty hard, so I think I was just a little burnt out.
Yeah, and on that note, how is Jessica compared to some of the other opponents you fought? Because that's one of the things. A lot of women don't even live to tell the tale of surviving a Jessica Andrade fight. How is her power compared to some of your other opponents?
Yeah, you know, she does have pretty good power, considering she's kind of like smaller for the division. I could definitely tell
Mhm.
when I was like squaring up to her that she's, you know, she's pretty short, and but she is stocky. And she just, you know, I think the difference is like most people like they'll have like sharp punches and they'll catch you and clip you, but Jessica really tries to knock you out with every punch, which that's what I feel like the biggest difference between like her and maybe some other good strikers that I fought, that like every punch she throws, she's trying to put you away, and you can definitely feel that. um, which I mean, it leads to a lot of finishes that she does have, but then also leads to openings because she's kind of putting everything into it, and she's kind of leaving herself open.
And the other thing with Jessica, obviously, is the shit hits very hard, but you took some shots as well. Like I think you proved that you're very durable in this performance. How much confidence does that give you fighting anyone in the division? Because I think people would argue Jessica's probably got the most power. Next, her and Valentina are probably right up there in terms of power at 125.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it definitely gave me some confidence. I mean, I knew I was able to strike with her, and I knew that as long as I moved the right ways, I stayed light on my feet, and I used like my length, that I'd be able to like avoid getting hit like in the right spots. Like she definitely clipped me with a couple, but they were all kind of like on the sides of my head. She never caught any like on my jaw, so I was never rocked. I can definitely feel how strong she hit, but I never felt like hurt in the fight. And yeah, I think it was just good experience for me overall.
Now, you got a lot of good feedback. I saw on social media, well deserved, obviously, with that performance. Was there someone that reached out to you or posted something on social media that you weren't expecting, like someone like pretty notable, saying, "Hey, congratulations on the win"? Have you been able to go through all your stuff on social media?
No, I mean, my phone definitely blew up because I always turn my phone off. Like once I get to like the venue.
Mhm.
So when I turn it back on, it kind of like explodes. So I think I still have some stuff to go through.
Okay, interesting. But I'm sure, yeah, again, a lot of people giving you props there. Here's a question I'm curious about, and I don't know if you answered this in other interviews. Are you going to be going to UFC 285 next Saturday?
I don't have plans to go to it right now, but everyone's been asking me, and I'll definitely be watching even if I'm not there.
They should
Yeah.
send you there, I think, because I honestly feel like that performance earned you a title shot. Do you agree?
I definitely do. You know, I think right now with how the division's kind of laid out, like I was supposed to fight Talia, she pulled out last minute. Manone's still hurt. Those are the only two girls above me, and I just finished a former champ and number 3 in the division. And I know anybody in the top 5 can always fight for a title. So I think this fight proved that I'm ready for a title shot.
Well, not only that, you finished at Jessica Andrade at 125. The only other girl to do that at 125 is Valentina. And then on top of that, you had to fight Andrade. Like people think that she did take the fight on short notice, but you also had the opponent switch up on short notice. So do you not think like that would help your case as well? Because like I don't imagine there's a lot of women who want to fight Jessica Andrade on short notice with her power, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of girls that would want to fight Jessica, you know, period. So I think taking that fight, being a main event, and like finishing her the way I did, I think that fight means a lot.
Who do you see winning next Saturday between Valentina and Alexa Grasso?
I definitely see Valentina winning. I think Alexa Grasso is a talented fighter in her own right. And I think she could give Valentina a little bit of a run, but I think Valentina's just a little more well-rounded overall, like her striking game and her ground game and her wrestling. I think she'll be able to impose like her will onto Alexa.
If it isn't a title shot next, is it Montefiore? Like, what do you think they even do? Because, like, to me, like, you're right up there right now. Even looking on the rankings, like, I don't know who else. I know Santos is still out there as well. But to me, if they wanted to give Santos a title shot, they would have booked her against Valentina instead of fighting you initially, right?
Yeah, that's honestly partly why I think I'll be the title contender next, because who else are they going to put? I think I fit perfectly in that picture.
And if all goes well and Valentina wins her next fight, again, we're talking hypothetically here. If Valentina, and nothing against Alexa, I just, we're talking hypothetically. So if Valentina beats Grasso, that's next Saturday. When would you like to have that fight? Is International Fight Week doable? I mean, that's usually a big card. When would you ideally like to get back in there?
Oh, I'd love to fight on International Fight Week. I know that's always a huge card. I love fighting in Vegas, and I think that'd be perfect. It'd be perfect timing.
And stylistically, I know you mentioned this in another interview. You've been watching Valentina since you were in high school. How do you look at a fight with Valentina stylistically?
I just figured. I mean, she's a great Muay Thai fighter. She's well-rounded fighter in her own right. But I know that I know I'm well-rounded as well, and I feel like the parts of her game that she's weaker, I'm stronger. And I know I'd be able to expose that.
And there's a school of thought that, that fight with Talia Santos, she was injured, maybe didn't look her best. But then there's another school of thought that maybe she is on the decline a little bit. Where do you stand on her performance against Talia Santos?
I don't think she's necessarily on the decline. I'm not sure. Valentina is only like 34 or so, I believe. So yeah. I don't think she's on the decline necessarily. I think it's just that Talia is a good grappler, and Valentina is, I think, weakest part of her game is her grappling. So I think it just kind of showed where they were, where their skills were kind of opposite. And I think it just kind of showed some of Valentina's, I guess, holds, you could say. Like, that's not her strong suit there. So I don't think it was really her decline. I think people are almost hyping it up too much that it's like a decline just because she was losing. I think we just didn't have anybody that was that good of a grappler to show that her grappling's not that great.
And by the way, just looked it up. Valentina's 34. She'll be 35 actually on March 7th. So we were kind of you were correct there. That's some good research. Winning this fight and potentially fighting for a title next. Do you think that a fight with Maycee Barber will probably never happen? Because I also remember asking you in a couple interviews ago, you don't think Maycee will ever get to a championship level. So do you think that fight's probably done?
Yeah, I think it's probably done. I don't know, unless like she put a couple wins together and moved up the division. But as of right now, I don't see that fight happening anytime soon.
Do you think she beats Andrea Lee in a few weeks?
I do think she beats Andrea Lee. Andrea Lee hasn't been looking too good in her last couple fights. And I think Maycee's probably going to put a pace on her. So I do see Maycee winning that one.
Did Maycee congratulate you on the win?
No, I don't think so. I don't follow her or anything, so I don't know.
And then one name I didn't mention, actually, they're fighting this weekend at the time we're recording this. We've got Tatiana Suarez fighting Montana De La Rosa. I believe Tatiana wants to go back down to 115 after this fight, but any concerns that if she gets a big win here that she could maybe leapfrog and get a title shot off that win over Montana?
I don't think she's going to get a title shot off that win. I mean, Montana's not even ranked in the division. Mm-hmm. So that would be a huge jump. I mean, maybe they'd want her to fight someone like me in order to try to get a title shot. But I know she said she already saying she wants to go back to 15. But I think, honestly, even with that being said, I think she still beats Montana even at 25.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, last question before we get out of here. What do you got planned the rest of the week? I know you're doing a bit of media, but you doing anything fun? You told me you're taking some time off training. Do you got anything planned? Going to the Jersey Shore probably wouldn't be a good time of year to go, right?
No, not a good time of year to go. Today, I actually just got back. Just left the gym and did a little lift. And then nothing. Oh, then today's Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow I'm actually going to Hoboken and spending a little time over there.
That's great. Any commentary gigs lined up? Again, this win, I'm sure it's going to open a lot of doors for other opportunities, right? If people don't know already, you've done some commentary and some interviewing and stuff, right?
Yeah, no, I don't have any gigs lined up yet, but I'm hoping after this one, maybe I can try to get my way into some other gigs.
There we go. Erin, thanks so much for doing this. Again, congratulations on the victory. If there's anyone you'd like to thank before we get out of here, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, you can follow me on all my social media as Blanchfield_May, and you can see all my sponsors and my gyms and everything on there.
Make sure to subscribe to the Low Kick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.